What's going on, yo? Welcome back to basketball. So I've been watching a lot of NBA preseason, and I've been watching the Washington Wizards like quite a lot for some reason, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like they're in store for one of the worst seasons possibly in NBA history. I know that sounds dramatic, but I've been watching them play, and they again look disorganized. They don't have a ball handler. The young guys are, nobody seems to be helping them out, and so I kind of want to do a video on that. I was thinking about it, and it seems like such a downer to just do like a video talking about like, oh, this team stinks or whatever. So what I want to do is talk about how we could steer this team in a better direction. So hey, make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment. I've responded to every single comment on my YouTube channel up to this point, and I intend to keep on doing so. All right, let's get into it. And where does that take us? It takes us back to spreadsheets. Isn't this where it all leads back to on the AVC channel? It always comes back to the spreadsheets. Most of you, if you've been following the channel for some bit of time, you guys recognize this format. This is a little spreadsheet that I put together to kind of help just organize our thoughts and everything, to be like, hey, where's the team at right now, right? And so this gives us a good view of like what kind of assets are we working with, what's our salary cap look like, the kind of depth chart we're working with, and then just an overall like roster salary breakdown and everything. And so here's what inspired this, right? I've got NBA scout buddies or whatever, and one of them sent me a couple clips from a Wizards game recently, and it was just titled like, hey, what the blank, I don't want to swear too early in a YouTube video, otherwise it could get flagged. And so he was kind of like, hey, what the blank is this, right? And I was watching some of it. The Wizards just look horrible. They look horrible in the preseason, right? Like, I know they've won some games here and there, but like, it doesn't look good. It does not look good. It looks like it's going to be a rough season. Malcolm Brogdon already out to start the year, right? He's going to be out for, they say, possibly like a month or something like that. And that's obviously going to make it worse because that's leaving Jordan Poole to play the point guard here. We'll situate it to show you guys what they're kind of working with right now. And then Corey Kispert has been filling in here. And this has kind of been the lineup that they've been rolling with. But we've also seen lineups where they've gone something like this, where they've had Bilal subbing in here. And then you had Kyle Kuzma here. We had Alex Sarr here. And then we had Mr. Valanciunas here. And that's kind of what they were rolling with at some point. And like, I don't think you have to be a basketball savant to know that this lineup wasn't going to generate anything but nonsense. And it's unfortunate that that's the point that we got to already, because this team just hasn't done a good job of developing talent for a long time. If you've been watching my channel for any bit of time, you know that the Wizards are one of like two teams that all like players, everybody in the league know are just kind of like garbage franchises, unfortunately. It was them and the Hornets. Hornets look like they're starting to go in a bit of a different direction, so fingers crossed for you fans out there. The Wizards, it's looking the exact same so far, and that's really worrying me, and I do think they're in store for a historically bad season. I'm not just saying that, like that's my assumption going into this. Obviously anything could happen, but I'm not seeing a good avenue to develop some of these players, right? With all the nonsense going on, that makes it hard for a young, interesting point guard like Bub Carrington, right? Like, we can't just sub him in right away while Malcolm Brogdon's hurt. Like, we're asking too much out of him right away. Alex Sarr doesn't develop any of his own offense at this point in his career, so while he can be as good as he wants as a team defender, offensively he's waiting for all these other numbskulls to try and figure it out. Kyle Kuzma is doing all these spin moves, chucking up air ball threes. Jordan Poole is just turning the ball over. They're getting stripped every time they come up the court. It looks rough. As smart of a player as Koulibaly is, I mean, he's still at the beckoning of the other guys that have the ball, and it's just not going anywhere. The offense isn't disciplined. Like, all the timing is off for every single play. It's just doesn't look good. So I'm worried about him. Guys like Keyshawn George, right? Like, that's another interesting young guy that they have, that it's like, okay, how good a development are they really going to get? So here's what I want to do in this video. I'm going to make a couple of what we're going to call realistic moves. I'm thinking things that could actually make sense, happen in the real NBA, and we're going to try to restructure them to where they're not going to win the finals, because, like, look, this team should still be trying to bottom out. I know you guys don't see like their own 2025 first round pick on here, but they do have it. Most likely it's protected. So we want to make sure that they still have access to that pick. But here's the thing. There's no difference in the lottery if you're the worst team or if you're like the third worst team. So I'd prefer not to be the worst team this year if possible. Like, we don't want to be an easy out every single night. And so I want to get this team in a point where they've got some more veterans on the court. We want to help out the ball handling a little bit and just try to make some little adjustments to get this team better prepared for the rest of the season. So that's what I'm thinking that we're going to do today. So if I was to make a general assumption as to what like a 10-man rotation for this team were to look like, just based off what I've seen in the preseason, this is something of what I'm starting to see. Like, Keyshawn George is subbed in a little bit more because they've needed some help at the wing positions and stuff, but this is kind of what I interpret. And like, again, Saddiq Bey is out. Or no, he's not out to start the year. He's actually supposed to be playing, right? I think he's supposed to be ready in time, but Malcolm Brogdon is going to be out most likely. So obviously that leaves more minutes for other people. Corey Kispert probably slides into the first five, but here's what I want to do. I want to help out the young guys, right? So what we need to do is we need to add some ball handlers to this team, a veteran ball handler that can help this team out. Now, I could go get just like a point guard, right? I mean, we're going to be over at Fanspo a bit just because like this is where we can actually make a lot of these trades happen. My initial thought, because this was something we did in our ideal offseason, is we initially just go get Dennis Schroeder. The Nets don't need him. He'd be easy enough to trade for. Boom. Instant starter quality point guard, plays offense and defense and everything. Easy solution. But at some point, Malcolm Brogdon comes back. And then I've got Dennis Schroeder. I've got Brogdon that's also going to want the ball. Poole's going to have the ball a little bit. We still want Carlton Carrington to have the ball a certain amount, right? We want to develop him this year. We're not going to be good, so we got to be still developing this player. So now I'm like, okay, I don't want a point guard. I need another combo guard, kind of like a Malcolm Brogdon, right? So somebody kind of in that realm is where I kind of want to start to explore things. And then we'll work on some of the other positions. But my initial thought is that we go to Utah and check on Colin Sexton. When I look at Colin Sexton, I go, okay, he can play kind of the 1 or the 2. He's going to play with enough intensity and everything. Maybe that's too chaotic to play next to a Jordan Poole and a Kyle Kuzma because we're bringing in one of the worst defensive players in basketball. But look, somebody just needs to be able to get the ball up and kind of run a bit of offense and stuff like that. So my initial thought is like, okay, what do the Utah Jazz need, right? Because they're not just going to make moves to make moves. They need, like, wings. And so I'm like, okay, is there something with, like, a Sadiq Bey and, like, a Johnny Davis? Maybe not. I mean, let me just see rationale-wise. Like, does this move even make, like, financial sense? And again, we'd have to pair more into it. No, it doesn't. Sadiq Bey can't be traded. Okay, so it can't happen until later in the year anyway. So honestly, I don't even want to explore this just because I want to be able to make a move like tomorrow. That's the idea with this at the end of the day is we want to be able to make a trade tomorrow. So where else can we go to get a guard? New Orleans I can go get a guard from, and CJ McCollum would be a wonderful addition to this team. Here's my logic. The Pelicans don't need CJ McCollum's $33 million anymore. They have DeJounte Murray. It'd probably be better use of their cap space to go out and find a center, which we can give them a quality center to throw into this lineup by the name of Marvin Bagley. Let's start there. CJ McCollum then comes back to us. We're going to need to move like another $20-ish million, $20.8 million to be exact. Okay, is it really that much more? Can I just throw over like a Sadiq Bey then or something like that? Like you get another wing back. He's an interesting player to kind of fuddle around with. We need to cut another $6-ish million. So is it going to be better off then if we do something like this? So instead of Sadiq Bey, we give you guys Rashawn Holmes as well. We give you 2 centers that can play minutes for you at the very least. And then what are you going to give us back is the question. Because does this money work? No, we need to cut another $6 million. So we need to take back a cheap player from them and give them someone else. Okay. What am I giving you though? I'm taking away a guard, so you can have Jared Butler. At least he'll play something. I don't want Jared Butler on the team anyway. We'll take back Carlo because we'll want like another center on the team, and they don't necessarily need him at this point. He's a young, interesting player for us that we can take back. This should work out financially, right? Okay, this move works. We need to supplement them with picks now. We're taking on some money for them, which is valuable, right? Because we got to be saving them like $7-ish million. Okay. We've saved them some money. We've given them some quality centers. Maybe quality isn't even the word for Marvin Bagley and Rashawn Holmes, but we got to give them something, right? Well, they're not getting like a first-round pick out of this because we are saving them quite a bit of money. But what we will do is we'll give you like this Golden State Warriors pick, and we'll probably give you a 2026 second-round pick as well. You can have this Bulls pick because they have so many of them, like a couple of those, maybe even throw in a third. That's up to you guys to kind of decide. But something like this, I don't think is the worst thing in the world, right? We get CJ McCollum, who we need to kind of help develop the team a little bit, bring us into a better culture spot. We're going to pay a little bit more, but that's okay. Where are we at cap-wise after this? So we're adding about $7-ish million. We haven't hit luxury tax yet, and I'd like to avoid that. We also open up a roster spot, which we can use to bring in another vet, and we might make another move even after this. So I like this. I like this so far. We're going to go ahead with this. We get rid of this pick. We get rid of this pick. So that clears out some of this stuff here. By the way, as always, y'all, if y'all want access to these spreadsheets, you know how to get them at this point. Just go DM me on Discord, which can always be found in the description. Who else did we get rid of then? So this is now, no, we didn't lose. We lost Rashawn Holmes. So this is now CJ McCollum. and we don't have Marvin Bagley anymore. We added that boy Carlo, and then we also got rid of Jared Butler. So let's sort this really quick so I can get a better view as to kind of what we have going on here. Okay, so we have one roster spot open now. Jared Butler's no longer on the team. We lost both of these centers. We're going to actually move Bub Carrington down here and Brogdon down here. CJ McCollum will start the season at the point guard and finish it there, most likely. Brogdon, we can bring off the bench or we can start him later, however we want to do things. But the point is we have two very quality ball handlers on this team now. So guys like Jordan Poole don't have to do it an excessive amount, but both of these guys can also play with Bub Carrington. Both of these guys will be able to help set up guys like Alex Sarr and things like that. And CJ McCollum's one of the best like leaders and stuff that we've seen in the NBA. He's going to come in and help us try to establish this better culture, which we care a lot about, right? Now, we do have one open roster spot. I'd like to maybe look at and see if we can't make one more deal. There's guys like Patrick Baldwin on this team that just like don't need to be here. Like, we're not developing him into anything. He's just kind of a cheap contract to have on the team. I mean, we could look at a Jonas Valanciunas trade as well, but I wouldn't mind just keeping him as a vet on the team as well. We could try to package him and Johnny Davis or something. Maybe we can help give some teams some cap relief. So let's take a look at that. All right, which team could use some salary cap help in some capacity, right? Is this where, like, we can help out the Grizzlies a little bit? No, theirs isn't, like, that bad. Like, Minnesota pays a lot of money. Can we help relieve them of, like, a bad contract? Somehow, like, Bates Job, not necessarily. No, they don't have really, like, any, like, bad contracts anymore besides the Julius Randle one, if you want to say that. And I don't need to add Julius Randle to this team. That's not going to help the development of anybody by doing that. Like, Cleveland, like, maybe Atlanta could use a little bit of salary cap relief. Like, they just have a lot of contracts that they don't necessarily want and or need on this team, like a Cody Zeller for that much money. Can we do something here? Like, we can relieve you guys a little bit, and like we can just take on more of a veteran center. So is this something where we take on like Patrick Baldwin, we send him over to the Hawks? What is Cody Zeller's contract actually look like if we look at it here? Non-guaranteed. What about Baldwin? What is he looking like? What does his contract look like? It's a club option for 2024, 2025, and they have a club option for next year. So they can save a little bit of money this year. They can get somebody a little bit younger on the team. They don't need Cody Zeller on the team. They trade him back to the Wizards, and maybe they give us like a little second or something like that. Give us like this 20-30 second just for helping us. No, they probably don't even need to do that because we're not giving them anything all that interesting. So this trade should just work then. We've taken back Cody Zeller as well. We've shipped out Patrick Baldwin Jr., brought in another guy that's just clean cut, going to get the job done. Like, is he going to play a whole bunch? No, but at least we have a reserve big man on the team now, which is good. And we still have the open roster spot. So we're starting to bring in some guys that we can mold just a little bit more. So Patrick Baldwin becomes Cody Zeller. So now this is Cody Zeller. We did take on just a little bit more money, so I'm actually going to say Carlo is here and then Cody is here. So we've got enough bigs on the team now, which is good. We want to have an ample supply of those guys because there's a chance that we'll want to trade Valanciunas like midway through the season. I have to imagine that's the Wizards' plan. At least that's just what makes sense to me. Why is this lit up? That's not how that is supposed to be. But whatever, is what it is. So where does this leave us now? Where does this leave us? We don't need Patrick Baldwin here anymore. We could use like another wing on the team, and I'd like to go sign another veteran with this last bit of money. We can go get like a real like quality veteran minimum guy, because I believe for a 10-year vet, it's like $3.1 million is the minimum. So we're not going to hit the luxury tax, which is good, but we can go bring in, again, another veteran into this team who we can bring in, try to mold this team into getting us into a little bit better position. We've got guys to bring the ball up the court to help set up Sarr now, right? And we've got a couple other vets on the team and a young guy in Carlo that could be interesting for us. But let's go take a look at free agency and kind of see what's out there. Gordon Hayward, he's retired. Fournier's playing overseas. Robert Covington's an interesting one. He's been around for a minute now, and maybe he's just willing to come play for us for one last paycheck, right? Let's go Robert Covington. I can be okay with that. Space the floor a little bit if we need him to, but just be another solid vet on the team. All right, I went and gave him an artificial contract, so that comes in at a minimum there. We fit Rob Covington right here. I like this a lot more already. And look, here's the biggest thing. This team's still not winning many basketball games, right? That's the main thing, but we want to start pushing us in the right direction. We don't want to be an easy out every single night. We need to make it so it's not so ugly to where we're hurting the development of our interesting young guys in like Sarr, Koulibaly, now Carlo, but obviously Bub Carrington and Keyshawn George in particular. You didn't have to give up a Corey Kispert, which is good. Like Johnny Davis is still someone you can try if you really, really want to, right? Sadiq Bey is still going to get a shot to show what he has, and we didn't hit the luxury tax, which is important, right? So let's mess with the minutes now just a little bit more. Now that we've kind of got this all figured out, I'm going to kind of scratch all the minutes again. So coming off the bench first is probably going to be Jonas and Corey Kispert first, right? Those are probably the first two guys that aren't actually, no, it's going to go down to Brogdon. This is a presumably healthy lineup. And then we go down to Corey Kispert. Jonas Valanciunas is kind of my idea. See, like that's a little bit better of a bench. You've got like solid players coming off your bench now, like sub Corey Kispert in for Koulibaly if you really want to, but now we've got quality players here. And now we go to Bub Carrington, Keyshawn George, who get a little bit of exposure this year, playing with some better basketball players, a little bit more development, right? And then where do we go to after that? What does kind of the reserves look like? Is it going to be Johnny Davis next? No, Sadiq Bey falls out of the lineup. So Sadiq Bey, Johnny Davis. This is where we'll go with like Carlo and then Cody Zeller, most likely. Who else am I forgetting? Rob Covington, honestly, could probably be higher than both of these two. So we're going to move them down one, and we're going to go Robert Covington there. What are we looking at minutes-wise? Let's give him like 29 here. Still one of our best players, so 32. Give him another 29 here, another 32. Gotta give 30 to the second overall pick. Let's try and go like 26 here, Brogdon, 25 here. We're just going to play you all the minutes that Alex Sarr isn't in. I don't want these two playing together. I think that's gross. Then we can trade Valanciunas later. Somebody will still want him. We can go 15 here. Let's try and shrink it down to like 11-ish. And 8, something like that. Sure, that's better, right? At least we're giving them like some exposure. And if people go down, they can get more minutes. It's your rookie season. And then obviously zeros for the rest of them. So that's at least like a little bit better of a rotation. And that's kind of what I was thinking for this video, y'all. Just a quick thing to be like, hey, Wizards are in some disarray right now. If we just make a couple little moves or something like that, I don't know, I think it could help a lot. And you're still not going to be very good. You can still go get a top draft pick, still get a shot at Cooper Flag and all that. But I think this is at least better, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think down below. This isn't going to be a series that I do often. I'm calling it like roster revival or something like that, where just whenever we see a really bad team, we're just going to talk about, okay, what are some things that we can do to just straighten things out a little bit, right? We're just tidying things up a little bit to where it's not maybe quite as bad, right? This team's not winning a championship, but maybe they're facing a little bit better direction than where we left them off before. But hey, I'll leave it up to you guys. Thanks so much as always for watching, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.